All right, family. Black Power. Black Power is the true power with General Sarah soon said he kicked back. Get your mind ready for some information that's guaranteed to be heavy. We got a powerful one today. We're going to be dealing with Narmer, the first pharaoh of the black nation of Kemet, Egypt. We're going to be talking about the southern origins of Kemet. We're going to discuss, the meaning of the name. We're going to look at the geography of where these early kings come from. But before we get started, I want y'all to check me out. Patreon, we got that file over there for you. Over 550, almost 600 videos exclusive for the family. You know it's fire. You know I keep it off the chain. Get over there, become a patron. The link right at the top of the chat. Also, let me get that in there. Let me get that in there. Patreon, y'all already know. KingSeti.com, online marketplace, official General Seti products. We got that for you. T-shirts, hoodies, African Kemetic jewelry. We got them classic DVDs over there. I want you to check out the memberships available for the family. General Seti, Sarasun Seti. Open up a treasure chest of exclusive material. And please get this video a thumbs up, like it because you love it. Share it with your family and friends. Comment. Just don't say nothing stupid. Cause you gonna get banned. That's right, family. Nah, I have not ever in my life. I go up on the internet and you can see today where you got all these people pretending as if they don't know the origin of ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt. You see, even though so many of their own people have already disclosed the information, it's really not up for dispute. But today people stay in a cauldron because they don't know how to move in and out of the box of what they call Western academia, which is nothing but a set up institution to steal history from peoples all over the world. You see, where these people write on everybody other than themselves. You see, last man on the scene want to write a history about everybody that was there before they even thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years before they even got on the scene. But yet they have written a history about everybody other than themselves because they don't know a history of themselves. Because if they did, you understand, they would stop telling other people's history. But anyway, the thing is, and I got some aids, some visual aids we're gonna be using today, so that we can show, about the great King Nam. Who, matter of fact, let me take that out of there. When we talk about the great King Nam, now, for a lot of people, that we have to put faces to geography. You see what I'm saying? We have to put faces to geography, and when we talk about the very first king, Narmer. Matter of fact, let me I got the slides. Let me drop it. That's Narmer. Let me show you. That's the principal scene of the Narmer's palette. And it's clear that the principal scene, you see Narmer wearing the crown of Upper Egypt. Okay, that's crucial that you understand the crown blueprint, because you got the crown of Upper Egypt, you got the crown of Lower Egypt. Okay, and so but to understand this, that the crown of Upper Egypt is the principal crown. That's why when you look at the Narmer palette, the one where he's wearing the crown of Upper Egypt is, he's almost 3 times the size of the, where he wears the crown of Lower Egypt. You see, so that's why when you look at most of the deities, Osiris wears the crown of Upper Egypt. Nekbet, one of the patron deities, goddesses of ancient Egypt, wears the crown of Upper Egypt. Also, Amen, the great god Amen. Now, today he wears the plume crown. But before he wore the plume crown, he also wore the crown of Upper Egypt. And so when you start, even when you get into what they call these intermediate periods, you see, intermediate period is a period where Egypt, was not ruled by a sole ruler, that it broke off into factions, and it could be a ruler in Upper Egypt, it could be a ruler in Lower Egypt. Lower Egypt was down near the Mediterranean. But anytime Egypt broke off into what we call factions, it broke off, and the Africans followed the king who wore the crown of Upper Egypt. That's who they followed. Okay, they didn't follow the one in Lower Kemet. You see, they followed the king of Upper Egypt. Now, when we're looking at this map, what we got to be clear. We got to be clear about some things. Now, as we look at this map, you see Upper Egypt. Right next to Upper Egypt is a city that they call Hierakonopolis. Now, that's Greek. Hierakonopolis is Greek. Now, according to the Medunata, they call the city Nikan, okay? And so you can see that right up under Hierakonopolis is Edfu. You see Kamambo, Elephantine, Aswan. So technically, you ain't nothing but a rock, skip, and a jump from Nubia, okay? Hierakonopolis, Nikan, is 75 miles from Aswan, which is Nubia. So when we talk about where this king is coming from, he is coming from the upper region, which is very closely related to the Nubian bloodline. Okay, so that's key number one. So it's not as if we don't know where this king is coming from. How do they know that Narmer came from Hierakonopolis, where there was a great treasure trove of ancient artifacts that was found in that city, in that area? One of them was the Narmer palette. The Narmer palette. Let me get that good slide up in there. Okay, let me get that one in there. This is the Narmer's palette. Now, as you can see, this is not the principal side. This is the side where he's taking over Lower Egypt. You can see that the Twa is the priesthood. They're carrying what we call the totem poles. You can see Horus. You can see Horus up there. You can see what it looked like to be Anubis. You also see the placenta. You see the placenta of the Pharaoh. Okay, you see the placenta of the Pharaoh. You see the enemy had their heads cut off. They wasn't playing. Narmer wasn't playing. So whoever was down in Lower Kemet, they wasn't appreciated. Now, I went through, some of the research. Many of them say, that they could have been from Libya, this, that, and the third. If they were Africans. So this was a war of African people on the African continent for sovereignty. Okay, for sovereignty over a particular area of Lower Egypt. Okay, but this is the earliest document of ancient Egypt. Now, you could clearly see, as you look at Narmer, you can see the apron. He has on the Masonic apron. Okay, he has on them, that mean that the brotherhood has already been established. You can see also the flail, which, you see the war mace, which was two symbols that remain, very close to the pharaonic position. So when you look at Kemet, there is no other civilization where you start with the first pharaoh. If you go to any other ancient culture and you start with their first supposed king, it's going to be mythological. They're not going to have not a tomb nowhere on the planet. I don't give a damn if it's Greece. I don't care if it's Rome. I don't care if it's Etrusca. I don't care if it's Sumeria. I don't care where. Look for the very first king, and it's going to be more or less mythological, no tomb or nothing for it. Not only the first one, Many of the ones, you might not find a tomb at all. You might not find a tomb at all. I don't think they've ever found a tomb of a Greek king. To be frank, I don't believe so. So if I had to look that up, I'll look it up. But I don't even believe they've ever found a tomb of a Greek king. If they did, it wasn't worth mentioning, because I would have ran across it by now. Okay, so what is this saying? That means even at the time, this is dynastic Egypt. It's obvious that these kings, the regalia of these kings had already been established long before Narmer. You got 2 crowns. I mean, just think of that. The development of a crown for a king in itself is serious development, because there's a lot of kings that don't have no crown. You understand? They just a king in title, but they never wore no crown. So to see that you got crowns, you got thrones, you see what I'm saying? You got the brotherhood that is in effect, the same apron that you see Narmer wearing. You see the kings and pharaohs wearing 2,000 years after the same apron. So that show you that position had been, developed to its highest state, even in the first, the first dynasty of Egypt. It was already fully developed. And so again, so this is, and you got 2 symbols before Narmer, and they say that this means the fighting catfish, and because some catfish are very aggressive, and you know what I'm saying, they say that Narmer is the fighting catfish. Now, this is not the principal of the scene. The principal side is the side where he has the crown of Upper Egypt, and you can see him in the fighting, smiting of the enemy, where they grab grab some hair of the enemy and about to put that war mace on his head. You see, about to put that war mace on his head. So, this is another principle position that most pharaohs, at some point in time, even into the New Kingdom, you had to show that you were the defender of the land, period. That you were the defender of the land. And so most pharaohs took this position. Okay. And you can see right behind is one of the servants, but he's not just no high up servant, because if you look closely, you can see the upside down triangle, which is symbolic of the brotherhood. That's the form of an apron, so he's high up on, and you can see also that he's wearing the cap of Patah. And that's very significant, because, when Egypt comes into existence, you see that even here, let me get the, you can see the little toit. You see the little toit down there, which are the children of Patah. And Patah was depicted as a little dwarf along with Bas. And these were considered 2 of the earliest deities of ancient Egypt. And that's very significant. And this is not no mystery, because many of the earlier writers had already spoken that the little toit was one of the earliest inhabitants of what we today call ancient Egypt. This is not something that just been written. This has already been written by a lot of scholars that, that went into Egypt and saw the very fact that they, these little toit were depicted on many of the earliest, documents dealing with ancient Egypt. So you can see right there that they got on the cap, the little toit got on the caps of Patah. And this is where Egypt gets its name. It gets its name from Patah. And so that's also a key indicator of where the early inhabitants of ancient Kemet came from. Now, Narmer is buried at Abydos. Now, that is I should have had that in there, but I don't. I can't do it all at one time. but Narmer, the first sacred cemetery, royal cemetery of Egypt was Abydos. Okay. And matter of fact, I got it here. I think I got it here. Right. So if you look all the way at the top, you see the city of what they call Thinis. Okay. And then right up under Thinis, you see Abydos. Now, this is all Upper Egypt. You see, this is all Upper Egypt. And really, this is not even Egypt, because Egypt really started with Memphis. Okay. This is technically upper Ethiopia. This ain't even no Egypt yet. Egypt start with Narmer. When you look at the kings list, they don't start with no other king other than Narmer. So the first king of dynastic Egypt is Narmer, and mostly all other kings list start with Narmer. So you can see all of these cities right here that predate Egypt. All of these cities predate Egypt. All of these cities predate Memphis. Okay. And even Herodotus, when he went, he discussed that when the Greek father history, when he went to Egypt, he understood that, because even at that time, see, they hadn't put the Aswan Dam in there, you see. And so, you know, when the Nile would flood, Lower Egypt would be wiped out. You see what I'm saying? It would be wiped out. And the Egyptians had told him that it wasn't until Narmer, or some people believe that Narmer is also Mena. Okay, that very well may have been another name for Mena, which is also assumed to be the first pharaoh of Egypt. That he put a dam in the Nile, he put a curve in and diverted the water so that it would go into a specific area. And when he did that, a lot of the land that they call Kemet today was visible to the eye. But before that, it would flood out. You see, many of them, where the pyramids and all of that was flooded out. So they went down there doing some engineering on that river to get the Egypt that we know of today. So Herodotus clearly stated that what they know of as Egypt for real was Upper Egypt. Today was the real Egypt. And that only till Mena went down there and put the dam in the river, that today you get Memphis and all that wasn't there. So, but nobody who don't know the river would understand that. Okay, they would not understand that. But for all the people out there, you can see right there, and we're gonna be bringing this map up today. But Narmer, and even the movie that they call The Scorpion King. Scorpion was pre-dynastic. You see, Scorpion was pre-dynasty. He was the king right before Narmer. Now, some people believe that Narmer or Mena was the son of Scorpion. Okay, not that craziness that you see on the movie with The Rock. That's some fictional stuff. But this king Scorpion was, and Scorpion came from Hierakonopolis too. And then there was another pharaoh, Hor-Ka. He's over there in Abydos. He's buried in Abydos. So the first kings came from Hierakonopolis. Now, if you go all the way to the top and you look at Thinis, the first king, or the kings of the first dynasty came from Thinis. So even these kings came out of the south before Memphis. This is before Egypt. It is before Kemet. Kemet is the lower portion of the Nile. This is where the silt, all the fertilizer that came down the river, it would settle in what today you call Lower Kemet. When the flood come, all that silt, all that mud, and it comes down and it settles at the mouth of the Nile. This is what they call Kemet. Okay, it not only does it mean the black soil, but it also means the black people, because that same black mud that Khnum used to mold man was the same black silk. And this is documented in what they clearly are running from. You see that he used that same black silk from Ethiopia to mold the first man and woman. So that's why the Egyptians said they was of the soil. You see, they was of the soil. So the Kemet means the black land and the black people. It means both because the people are of the land. You see, but we have to be clear that what we call Kemet is the lower portion, but the upper portion was already developed thousands of years before Memphis. You see that the kings of Upper Egypt wore the white crown long before the reuniting of the two lands. And so once we understand the flow of the river, and when you discuss anything else, even the pyramids, you will see that the development of the pyramids is moving from the south to the north. You see what I'm saying? When you look at the step pyramid, then you look at the failures, you look at the ones where they're trying to develop, they're trying to develop from the step pyramid to the true pyramid. And they have some failures in there. You see, they had first, you had Huni and he had what today they call the pyramid of Meidum, where they had a pyramid of Meidum. Then after, which is the first pyramid after Saqqara, where they trying to fill in the steps. Then they say Sneferu may have had a hand in on that one too. You see, he might have tried to finish that. But then you had the bent pyramid, another failure. All of these failures is in the south. You see, then even when you're looking at the two pyramids of Sneferu, the bent pyramid is in the south. Then he's moving north, the red pyramid. He becomes successful, creating the first true pyramid. And then all the way down north, you see the largest pyramids at Giza. So even when you're looking at the development stage of the pyramids, the failures is in the south, and in furthest north is where they reach the zenith. There's no more failures. They have reached the zenith of pyramid building. So once you understand that and you go to the beginning of the river, that's why you see even today, there's a beef between Egypt and Ethiopia because Ethiopia built this dam up there. And the Egyptians, the fake ones that's there today, they scared that Ethiopia might turn their water off. So even when you understand, he who is master of the beginning of the river is the true master. Because if he put something in there and cut that water off, and understanding that the Nile is the only source of water in Egypt, then right there, that show you who the masters is. You see, the masters are the masters of the source of the river. You see, the source of the river. You cut that water off, and people's is gonna be in serious trouble. That's why when we look at it, it's really no real. Yes, it was some discrepancies, you understand, but that's how it is. Nobody takes the discrepancies between European people. You had Hitler jump on everybody in Europe. That don't mean they wasn't Europeans, but just because you got some discrepancies between the Egyptians and the Nubian, and we talking about just segments of the population. We're not talking about the whole population, because much of the population was in unity. But like in anything, it's going to be some that need to be checked. And that happened not only for the Nubian, where Egyptians had to check Egyptians. They had to check Egyptians. Many carvings on the wall where they show Egyptians being bounded because they had stepped out of pocket. So, but, we have to understand that when we see it, that this is just, this is nationhood, and nations, sometimes there is disagreement. That don't mean that they not family. You feel what I'm saying? But this is for Narmer, and we're going to touch on Narmer in a deeper way. You see what I'm saying? Get to his grave and discuss that. How is it that we can find the very first grave? Not only they got pre-dynastic graves at Abydos. They ain't just got, they got dynastic and pre-dynastic graves. And then they got other, I was looking up other cemeteries in Egypt with pre-dynastic burials. You see what I'm saying? That, not too much different from the dynastic burials, deeper down into Nubia, deeper down into Sudan, showing you that this culture is developing as it comes, like the river. When you study the source of the river, then you study in the source. Civilization always start at the beginning of the damn river. You gonna master the river first. You ain't gonna, and people gonna go to the head. They're gonna go to the source where where it began, and they're gonna master that, and then they're gonna come down the river slowly, mastering the whole river. You see, and in that same fashion and manner is how the cultures that you see on the Nile, how they develop, coming from the source of the water all the way down into Kemet, into Egypt. Appreciate y'all, family. Make sure y'all get on over there to Patreon. We got that fire. I'm doing the Shabbaka stone. We most definitely going to be talking about that, which is another powerful document where the 25th dynasty king Shabbaka have brought forth one great document showing how Patah created the universe with the spoken word, and even said that he created our tomb. Yeah, this is a powerful document. Say he created our tomb, and many people thought that our tomb was the creator of everything, and it's saying that Patah created our tomb to be his viceroy. You know what I'm saying? The one that would create the world for Patah, and showing that Patah is the greatest God in this document, of all deities. And this it was rewritten by the great Pharaoh Shabbaka of the 25th dynasty. We're going to be talking about that on Patreon. Make sure you get over there and check it out. I be black. We got some more fire. I'll see you in a minute. Arm yourself with knowledge. Bang on that wicked ass beast daily. Liberation through African education and confrontation. You say Sadism that has been virtual tool to study the temple. It's some out there. It's some websites out there. You see what I'm saying? It's some websites out there. I ain't been on them in a while. You just have to keep searching. They come up and they go. They used to have this one on the I think it was on Karnak, and it was a virtual website, and it would show you what part of the temple it was in, and it'd bring the it'll bring the walls up and different things of that nature. But if nothing else, you just got to get the maps, which I always, I start from the blank maps of the temples and the layout of the temple complex, and you just have to start adding, as you do your research, and check it off on your own. That's how you learn. You feel me? This is on the left wall, front courtyard, and and once you do it that way, you master it. You feel what I'm saying? But anyway, I be black. See you in a minute. Arm yourself with knowledge. Bang on that wicked ass beast daily. Liberation through African education and confrontation. Boom. Black power.